Students often ask me what grammar they need to study in order to pass their Cambridge English exam. And I made a video a couple of years ago in which I said you basically need to revise all the grammar to give yourself the best chance of getting the score you need. And while that's true, there are certain grammar concepts that come up more than others in the exam, whether you're taking the B2 First, C1 Advanced or C2 Proficiency. So here are the top 8 grammar concepts that you need to study right now if you're preparing for a Cambridge English exam. Number 1, inversion. Now inversion could come up in the use of English, but it's also really useful for you to use in your writings and even maybe in your speaking. So instead of saying he fell asleep when the film started, you could say no sooner had the film started than he fell asleep. Number 2, cleft sentences. Again, very useful for your writings because you're emphasizing a particular part, a particular aspect of a sentence by changing the structure of that sentence. So instead of saying education should be a priority, you could say it is education that should be a priority, or what should be a priority is education. Number 3, reported speech. Again, very common in part 4, keyword transformation. So you may be given a sentence like, "I'll see Tim tomorrow," said Julie. And to make that reported speech, you would say, Julie said she would see Tim tomorrow or the following day. Number 4, the conditionals. You always need to study the conditionals. Again, very useful for the use of English, but you should be using them in your writings and in your speaking. So in your report or proposal, for example, you could write something like, if these recommendations were implemented, the results would be significant. Number 5, the passive voice. Again, it often comes up in the use of English, but you should be using it in your more formal writings. So instead of writing I believe in your essay, for example, it's more appropriate to write it is believed or it is thought. And a longer sentence using the passive voice, rather than saying they must finish the report by the end of the day, you could say the report must be finished by the end of the day. Number 6, the comparatives. A lot of comparatives are quite basic, but again, they come up quite a lot in the use of English. Jenny's hair is much longer than Philippa's, or you could say Philippa's hair is nowhere near as long as Jenny's. Number 7, the causatives. Again, these come up a lot in part 4. So the typical example is, I got my hair cut yesterday, but you could also say something like, I need to get my laptop fixed. And finally, number 8, clauses. Now there are lots of different clauses and they're often used to add extra information, but just a quick example of a non-defining relative clause. The series, which is set in the 1920s, takes place in a rural village in Wales. Now this is just a video to tell you the type of grammar that you need to study, but if you need to now go and revise this grammar, check out my essential grammar course. It's an online course. The link is in the description.